This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I am here with Brian Covey. He's out of Nashville, Tennessee. He has been a mortgage lender for a long time, seen a lot of stuff, has some rental experiences, goes back and forth between Nashville and maybe Florida. And we're going to be talking to him about, I think is an interesting topic, taking that sports mindset, that competitive mindset, and how you move it over into business. I'm a little bit what would you say, fond of this conversation, because I have often asked myself or wondered, what would I have been if I didn't spend, 8 or 9 or 10 years on a football field out there sweating my buns off at 110 degrees while someone else was taking my girlfriend to Burger King. I learned, that's where I learned to get up. Even when I didn't want to get up, I had to get up. There's people watching, and I owed it to myself and my team to not let anybody know that they just put a shot on me and I'm hurting a little bit. So get back up, get back in, and what do they say? Shake it off, man. Keep going. So how you doing, Brian?
I'm good, Mitch. Thanks for having me on. And I love that we connected over the music piece. So with you being a drummer and I'm a bass player, and I've played for many years. So probably we'll lock into some good topics today.
Yeah. So I was telling him I've been a avid songwriter for 47 years, and then I'm going to get good at it like any day now. Hopefully you get better, and that's a long time. I should be better than I am 47 years, right? But it's something I do in the background on the side. That's my hobby, and I take it pretty serious these days, because just like competitive sports, like if you're going to do it, let's do it. My coach used to say, if you break a play, just break it going 110 miles an hour.
Just keep going. Don't stop.
Don't stammer around or stop or throw your hands up. I mean, just keep going. So that's the model. So tell me where this idea, competitive mindset, when did you connect the two with business, the competitive sports mindset to the business mindset?
Yeah, I think a large part of it's still kind of unraveling now in a positive way of I'm learning, what did I learn in my youth in sports that now correlates to business, building out teams, setting up systems, hiring the right people, all that. But I go back to, I was very fortunate. My dad is a psychologist. And so I learned everything from techniques like visualization to things that would help you prepare your mindset for successes, failures, anything that came your way. How do you deal with adversity? How do you adjust on the fly? All skills you need as a business leader. We learn, and you know this in the market, things don't always go your way. Whether you invest in the stock market, housing market, crypto market, whatever your market is, the reality is you have to have the right mindset and you have to really believe in yourself. And I've been on this journey. I think it's really from sports is I'm continually pushing myself. I'm always trying to find a better version of myself. And I always talk about this as I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday, better than I was a week ago, better than I was a year ago. And the things that Brian in 5 or 10 years wants to accomplish, my big dreams and goals that I think we all have, I recognize there's some skills I need to learn along the way. There's people I need to surround myself with that can teach me, help expedite that learning curve. And then lastly, you need to take risks. You need to invest. And investing in ourselves allows us, I believe, to make smart decisions, go back and invest in other areas, whether it's in music where we have fun, or it's actually in the real estate market, right? Where we can make money and we can actually build a business. All of those apply. All of those apply, and we can continually get better at them.
Yeah, may I add also to know when you're out of your league or that you got to sub it out because it's just not you, or you're not doing it right, or you're not capable, or you don't want to, which is a big one for me. There's a lot of things I could do, but I was hating them. It was making my life miserable. So I said, why the hell am I doing this? I need to sub this out to somebody. And, turns out it was I wish I'd have learned it a long time earlier, because my life would have been a lot easier and I'd gone a lot further. When you're doing things you don't like or you're not good at, like they can put you in at quarterback, but if you're no good, you're going to lose a lot of games. Like, we need to get a different quarterback. I need to move over here where I'm good at, so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that though. I can look back early in my career and there were times where, why was I doing that? It sucked my energy. I wasn't probably ever going to be good at it. As much as I tried, it just wasn't who I was, or who, God had given me different skills and talents. That wasn't me. So I will say, as we start to mature in that role, whether you're leading a small team of a few people or several thousand people, the reality is finding your lane and getting great at that and letting go, which is the hardest thing for many of us to do. Delegate those out, be very clear about what the roles are. We talk about a lot with our team is stay in your lane. If we all stay in our lane, the compound effect of our energy and efforts is exponential. When we start overlapping, I mean, can you imagine if you had 5 point guards playing basketball?
Yeah. I was gonna tie that back too to like football. I mean, what if you're trying to block and run? I mean, it's not gonna work.
It doesn't work. You can't be the quarterback and the running back and the wide receiver and block. Like, you need to pick that lane, be great at it, and then find people around you, to your point, that will complement what you do and what the mission is.
Yeah, so let's talk about the time in the woods. Like, I wrote a book called My Life in a Thousand Houses, and a lot of people sometimes are, failing forward to financial freedom. People would read the book and they would call me and they'd say, we're so much alike. And then I'd be talking to them like, I don't see where we're alike at all. But then I figured out what they were all gravitating to. What they were connecting to was, I was talking about my time in the woods and how I fought my way out. In the dark, bears and all kinds of ugly things around me, or I didn't know what was around me, and I found my way through it, and I emerged this stronger person. And that's what people were connecting to. So tell me about, I'm going to guess you had a time in the woods. Tell me about it.
Oh man. So my backstory, the people that know me, I ended up playing professional soccer, but what you don't know is the years prior to that, where, for me, I was under 6 feet, played goalkeeper in soccer. So if you think of the prototypical goalkeeper size, they're over 6 feet, all of them today. And I recognized about my junior, senior year, I'm not growing much anymore, right? Like, this is going to be where I land, just under 6 feet. What do I need to get great at? And so I figured out my fitness, my footwork, my ability to understand and read plays. Much like the other night, I was watching Peyton Manning get inducted to the Hall of Fame. One of the most brilliant quarterbacks. Athletically, people could probably argue he wasn't one of the best athletically, but mentally, to be strong, I started working on all the areas that I knew would take to be great. And I share this story often is, it started with soccer. I would run 11 or 12 o'clock at night because it was so hot in Memphis, Tennessee, the humidity. If you ran in the day, you could pass out, right? And we were training. I would always do extra. And I look back to today, it's not enough just to show up to those practices. So my time in the woods was, I would call friends up and like, hey, do you want to go train today? Hey, do you want to go train over here? Hey, I need to work on this. I need to work on crosses. I need to work on my footwork. And it was all those hours spent. Quite honestly, nobody's watching. There's not a coach out there. There's no one pushing me. It's my time going through, recognizing here's where I need to improve. Here's what's going to be required of me on the field. And I think that's what was really a catalyst, that my mental game, I say a lot of times, I wasn't the best athletically. Like, I worked on all those skills, and yes, you have to be at a certain level. But I think what helped me, my time in the woods, was a lot up here. And I noticed that correlation to business when I first got into mortgage lending. And I'm new. I'm learning the business. I'm taking the guides home. I'm highlighting programs. I'm trying to read and understand every lending program that's out there so I can give the best advice. And I would go out every weekend. Mitch, I would literally go to open houses, because it was before homes were on the internet as broadly as they are today. And I would show up and I would drive around in neighborhoods we couldn't afford. And I would take pictures of the yard signs. And that was my call list on Monday to call real estate agents. I would walk through open houses, introduce myself. And I spent a lot of time, and I call it just kind of like, I'm chopping wood. Like, I am figuring out how I'm going to build a business. And it's a lot of work ethic. It's doing things when you don't feel like it, that most people will say, yeah, it's Sunday after church, I'm just gonna go hang out. I'm gonna go watch some football. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna watch some soccer, whatever, on TV. No, I was out calling on open houses. Where was the business? Where would people show up that I wanted to work with? Where were my customers? And even to this day, that's what applies. And we have a saying with our team, and it's called actions over feelings. We talk about that a lot. Is you have to just take an action, whatever big or small that action is. When you feel like you don't want to, you wake up in the morning and you're like, I really don't want to go work out today. Or later in the day, you're like, I really don't want to make that call today. I don't want to go to that appointment today. Those are the times that I think separate people. And so I don't think my time in the woods is over. I think I'm still learning and I'm growing and I'm figuring out. I think each day, if we find a challenge in our life and you can overcome that challenge, what else is going to come at you? Right? I think that's how you build the muscle and get stronger.
Yeah. I like that, because I had a saying I heard somewhere and I latched onto it, was action overcomes fear. And I started to recognize when I was afraid of something, and then I would, instead of putting it off like I used to do, or put my head in the sand, or keep walking around it, I would go right to it. Like the minute I realized I'm afraid of this thing, I said, okay, stop everything. What's the straight line into the middle of this, and go and get like nose to nose with it. And I found that most of the time, almost 100% of the time, well, 100% of the time, the dragon was much smaller than I thought it was,
Yes.
and it wasn't nearly as bad. And when I started to concentrate on how to beat the problem that I was afraid of, I found that there was sometimes multiple answers, and I just fixed the one. And then, like you said, you got to push into it, and sometimes you have to have that sports mindset. My dad, I weighed 123 pounds when I started as a tailback for a 4A football team in Texas.
Wow.
I weighed 123 pounds. When I graduated, I weighed 143. These guys would be approaching around 275 to 280 most of the time on the front lines where I was raised. And my dad, who was an ex-Marine and, pretty tough guy, he grew up small too, was you can't be afraid, and you can't even be afraid of getting your ass whipped. Just make sure you take a piece of somebody home that they're never going to get back again, and they won't mess with you anymore. Yeah. So that has gotten me out of a lot of fights to say, look, I know you're probably going to whip my ass, but let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to take a part of you home, like your eye, your ear, a finger or something. You're never going to get it back. And I'm going to eat it in a breakfast taco in the morning. So if you really want to do that, let's go.
Yeah, I think most people too, they underestimate what they're capable of. And I've seen that time and time again. And we all kind of face that where you're talking about the dragon seems so big, and we underestimate what we can accomplish. And sometimes it's just a small step you've got to take. And I'll say this to even my kids now, it's like, why not you? Like, why can't you do something great in whatever area it is, whether it's school, right? And they come home with a subject and like, I'm just not good at science. I'm not good at science. Why? Right? Like, why not you? Why can't you be great at that? In sports, don't let limiting beliefs or stereotypes tell you that you can't be someone that's successful and may not be in your lineage and your family. So what? So what? Why can't you be the first one that graduates college or goes and invests in housing or goes and gets that great job? Why not you?
Yes, exactly. You made me think of something. I don't play a melodic instrument. I've written hundreds of songs, and I won some awards for my songs. It's neither here nor there, but I didn't play a melodic instrument, and for a long time I thought that would hold me out. But I figured out how to hire people that had 40 years on that instrument. They put that instrument on like a pair of pants. Yeah. You didn't have to tell them what to do. And for a few bucks or for a co-writing mention, they would handle everything that I didn't have. So, just a small observation that you wouldn't think that someone could write songs if they don't play an instrument, but you can. You just have to look at like, well, if I can't play one, what do I do? How would it work?
Yeah, we actually went through that earlier this year, and it was really last year during COVID and some of the changes. Is decided to write a book, right? And that was something I was not very familiar with, and I hired some people around me to help me. I'm like, I don't understand this. I don't know what to do. Here's what I know I can do. Here's what I can bring. It's amazing how many people are, one, willing to help you that have expertise there, and two, if you can structure it right and you have a good business mindset around this, you can figure out how to turn that into something that actually is worthwhile. Maybe doesn't make a lot of money in the book sales, right? Like we all know books aren't typically, unless you're some huge writer, but even in songwriting, like you can do something you enjoy, give back, and it's a way to express yourself. And I think people they miss out on that, where there are people that are willing to help you, and they're not always super expensive.
So let's talk about that. Yesterday I got my fourth book delivered to me in my hand. It's called The Art of Private Lending, where I'm going to, I don't plan on making a bunch of sales from this book or making money from the sale of this book. What I'm using the book for is to become an expert in the business, because it says my name at the bottom is author, and my partner. I put my partner's name on there to give him that credibility too. And I'm handing that book to people who have excess cash, either in retirement plans or in their bank account, and saying, look, you can make 12%, 13%, 14% if you want to be a hard money lender and go to work. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to tell you how to look at it, how to analyze, and how to stay out of trouble with this thing to the very best of my ability. Because I've had a hard money loan business since 2003, because I had so much money that I couldn't get out at my underwriting guidelines. And I just don't go out and start buying crappy deals just because I got a lot of money. My underwriting guidelines stay the same. If I can only buy X amount of houses with that, and I can't find any more, then this other money's got to sit on the sidelines. But that money would go away if I didn't get it involved in something. So I learned to loan it out to my competitors at rates or at loan to values that I wish I would have bought the house for. And if they didn't pay me, I ended up with another piece of inventory that was just fine. Sure. So through the years, I was able to keep a lot of people. In course, hard money rates is short, 6 month, 8 month, 10 month, 12 month. So I could keep it occupied, but if I ever needed it back, I just didn't extend the loan, so I could kind of keep the money in play. So what I'm doing is I'm showing them and being very gracious and open, like, you don't need me. You can go out and make more than I'm even offering you, but you're going to have to work to make 12 or 13 or 14% or more.
Yeah.
But if you want to just play golf and be retired, I can give you 8 or 9 or 10%, and I'll just send you a check under these same rules that I'm telling you. I mean, it all applies. Like, I'm telling you how to do it yourself. And I use the same rules when you give me the money and either I loan it out or I buy a house. It doesn't matter. You still have the first lien rights on this piece of property. And I only borrow, this has been my guidelines forever, 65% of what I can sell or finance a house for. I'll never borrow over that. If I want to borrow 70%, and sometimes I do, if I want to pay 70%, then I got to bring 5% myself to the deal. And I only average borrowing 58%. So I'm just saying the most I will borrow is 65. That's because I don't want to put my lenders I want to put them in a safer place. You can't say anything safe or guaranteed, of course, by law and all that. Right. But I want to give them a real fighting chance with a real piece of tangible collateral that makes sense. In a good position.
I think it's just like business too. Anybody that's out there, whether they're in real estate or not, like, you need to have standards, right? And we talk about this with our team quite a bit of, like, we have standards of people that we will actually add to our team, whether they're in sales or processing or whatever the role is. And you need to hold to your standards. I think that's where most people in business, either themselves or as they scale a team, that's where they fall short. Because to your point, you have a standard. As soon as you deviate from that too far, you're now starting to go into a whole new pond, right? And the risk and everything you said you were going to build, it doesn't look like what you said you were going to build anymore. And you've got a different model. I think that's where most people I've seen, they'll come, Brian, what about this? What about this? I'm like, well, what did you commit to? Well, it sounds like you're not honoring that, right? You're doing something else. And that's where I've seen a lot of businesses. That's probably why the statistics are so high of that first year failure rate, is they don't stay committed to it, because it's not easy. To your point, it's not easy to do that, right? The research, the time, the energy, the effort, but the returns are there, right? Just like any business. Better you are, more people pay.
I used to kind of jump into side businesses and think, well, this will be easy because I already know all this and I'll start this other side business. Every side business that I ever started would take everything you have for about 2 years. Yeah. It'll take everything you have. And I finally decided to quit doing that until I figured out the other side of it, which was I can start the side business if I partner with someone who's an expert and knows how to do that. And I just feed them, the sawdust from my sawmill so they can make boards because they're expert at making boards. But I have the sawdust that I'm producing. And I won't go into a business now on the side unless I find the exact right partner who shows up every day at that business to grow the business. And I'm just supplying some other one component, whether, I like to use the analogy, if you have a sawmill and you're making trees into boards, you're going to end up with a bunch of sawdust. You can pay to have it hauled off, or you can figure out how to make something out of sawdust.
That's right.
And then you got to partner with a guy who's an expert at whatever that is you're going to make. If you're going to make boards out of sawdust, then hire a guy that used to run a board making factory out of, that did it, and say, look, you want to go on your own? Because I got all the sawdust you'll ever need, And so that changed a lot, because I would get spread so thin as an entrepreneur. The hardest thing an entrepreneur will ever do is have one great idea and finish big. It's the hardest thing they'll ever do. Entrepreneurs see opportunity and everything. Tell me about your mortgage business. Where did it start from? Where is it now?
Yeah. So I started really out of I was looking for a role in finance. And when I was coming out of college, I'd played some soccer there in the professional levels. And I realized I liked numbers. I liked all of that. I say I fell into it. I had friends wanting to buy a home. At the time, my fiance, now my wife, we were looking to buy a home, and I started to see this need, right? Like all these people wanted to buy a home. They didn't know where to go to get advice. And I thought, well, I've kind of grown up around real estate. I like numbers. I understand credit. Like all this is great. So I found kind of a resounding theme today. I found somebody that would train me and take me in, and I started to learn the business. And we actually underwrote loans. We processed them. We did everything from furniture financing to car financing, boat financing, mortgage financing. I learned from the ground up. And it was also more of the call center type environment where I was on the phone with probably 50 plus customers a day, right? So I got a lot of reps. And I think about that again, correlation to sports. The more reps you get, the better you get at it on the phone and those skills that I think are required. And then I've just continued from there. I originated for a while. I built a team, and then I built a bigger team. And over time, we've continued to grow.
Are you doing mostly homeowners, or do you loan to investors, or what's your niche?
We do pretty much everything. So if you think about today, for us, we've got people that'll be their primary residence, could be second home, could be investment property, all of those together. And that's our primary bread and butter, right? So we think about customers all across the United States, and we work with them, and it's been fun, right? Because the mortgage business has evolved quite a bit. My 20 years, it looks nothing like what it used to look like, even from customer acquisition to the loan process, some of the documentation requirements, guidelines, some of it's the same core, but wow, how much it's changed, right? Just customer acquisition alone, any good business, you've got to nail down your customer acquisition strategy. And we talk about this quite a bit with our team. If you can't get a seat at the table, and you'll probably get this one, Mitch, they don't even know you exist, right? So for you, probably like in your markets, like if they don't know you exist, how are they going to find you, right? Like, and that's that whole thing of a business to be successful over the long run. You have to have a strong customer acquisition. And then on the other side of it, you got to deliver. And we talk about delighting our customers. So I think we're still evolving, right? When you look at where we are in mortgage and the AI that exists and the digital changes that have existed and now come into light, customers expect more in that process.
The challenge has never been to come up with a great idea or a great product. That was always the easy part. The reason why it takes 2 years is no one knows how great your product is because they can't see you. They don't know. So the 2 years is usually spent trying to introduce the world or your customer to let them know that you exist. It doesn't matter what you have. I mean, and then you have that gamble of, am I going to do it grassroots and just make the business grow? Or am I going to gamble $100 grand on some advertising thing and see if I can't jumpstart this thing, which scares the living hell out of me a lot of times, because when I start getting off into social media and marketing, I usually, it doesn't work out well. I usually grow my customers, get my customers, start referring customers, and then they referring customers. And then it gets up to a place where the business has made $100 grand, and I'm going to gamble the business is $100 grand to put it up, not out of my savings account. If I ever do that, that's usually when I do it, is when the business has earned the money. I'm playing with the house's money. You know what I mean? I'll roll the house's money back in on maybe jumping it up. Do you start grassroots, or do you advertise social media, or how do you find your customers?
So ours is a hybrid approach. We do both. And so we're showing up online where customers clearly are going to look for mortgage information. They're shopping for homes. They're trying to find out, what can I qualify for? What are the rates? What's the mortgage world look like? So we show up online. We do a local branding strategy in concert with that. So our local team members and team members like myself, leaders of bigger teams, we actually do a lot of personal branding. Right. So even like to the t-shirts, like we wear shirts that say loanDepot. We sponsor, our kids' sports teams out of our own like personal checks and all, and we show up where customers are. And what we've seen is this trend of customers will start online, but many times they want to finish local. Right. So in Nashville, they may go online, they may look around, they may find all these lenders, but if we can show up there and they see, oh, wow, there's a local office here in Nashville or in Los Angeles or wherever it is, they're going to tend to call us. And so that approach for us has worked exceptionally well, because you think about, once you've started online, customers are looking, one, is there brand awareness and can they trust you, right? They're trying to figure that out. Well, some of our sponsorships with like Major League Baseball and all of that, that's at a very corporate level. They go, oh, loanDepot, got it. Well, guess what? The next move is, Who do I know there? Who am I going to work with? That's what they're thinking. It's like, for me, who am I going to be talking to? So we put on our websites pictures of our team members, bios about our team members, customer reviews about our team members, because we believe customers are going to look online. They're going to start to review and go, I like this person. I don't like this person. The more they can find out about us, we believe that's going to separate us, because when they get on the phone with us, that's our time to shine. That's our time to make sure we understand what their goals are, and then to offer expert solutions and guidance. So that's for us. You know, Mitch, we're showing up. We use the term ubiquitous. We want to show up everywhere that the customer could potentially be looking, including real estate offices, home builders, all of that. We just want to be one of the options. Again, back to a seat at the table. And then it's up to us to win the customer over and make them feel good about working with us.
Okay, so I want everyone, to learn more about Brian Covey and loanDepot and the way they do things. And if you're interested in a loan, whether you're an investor or you're just looking to buy a property for yourself, go to 1000houses.com/sports, the number 2 biz, sports 2 biz. Okay, and use the number 2, and that'll take you over to the show notes. And over in the show notes be all the contact information. There'll be links to anything that Brian deems that you may want to know about. So, and a way to get a hold of them and maybe do an application for whatever loan you're looking for. I'm sure they'll show up and deliver, as you said, even over deliver. So I appreciate you taking the time to be on. Is there anything, the mortgage loan business, like not right down the middle of what I do best? Is there anything that I should have asked you or that you want to talk about before maybe we wrap it up?
So the one kind of golden rule that we share, and I learned this when I started in the business and it still holds true today, is before you go out and look for a property, whether it's your primary residence, second home, investment property, wherever you are in that cycle, it's going to save you quite a bit of time and money to get with an expert that you trust, that has lots of options. And so the golden rule is get with someone before you get too far down the path and know what your options are. There's still a lot of misinformation, right? Shocker. On the internet, that people will say you have to have 20% down or you have to have this credit score. Best advice I was ever given when I started, and it holds true today, is get with an expert today. You can go with somebody local in your market that you live in. They're going to know the market. They're going to be able to give you expert advice, and you're going to find out you probably have more options than you thought about. And that's what we want to encourage people, is just to have that conversation, because from the conversation, now you know your options, you're educated, you're informed, and you're empowered to make the best decision for you and your family. And so that's what I would share, Mitch, is that to me is still fundamental to anyone's success, right? Buying your first home or your 100th or your 1,000th home, it still matters.
So I think there's some good advice there, because I think before you're going out to buy something, if you don't know how you're going to fund it, if you're really going to need a loan, then let's get with somebody so that you can get a pre-approval letter. You can figure out what your limits are. You can figure out what your rate's going to be, or the terms that you're going to be able to get, so that you can figure out how you're going to fit in this payment, so that you got something to go on. Plus, you just have a lot more confidence when you're walking in and say, I want that. You have the confidence to pull the trigger, whereas you might miss a really great deal, and especially in today's market, hesitating because you're not sure of even what your payment's going to be, because you don't know about what the interest rate's going to be, more or less. You don't know anything, so you hesitate, and damn, the property's gone in a heartbeat. Like right now, it's very difficult. So do that. Go get a go get pre-qualified, find out what you're capable of, what it looks like, and maybe even get the pre-qualification letter, because sometimes realtors are even asking for that up front before they'll even show you a house. Because they don't have time to waste right now. They're taking someone out to look at a house, they're selling a house, and they can't do that with a deadbeat. So you got to be able to hold up and say, look, I've already been pre-qualified with Brian and his loanDepot team. Now I'm qualified for this much. And then people start taking you really serious.
That's right.
They're like, all right, what are you looking for? We're going to go find it.
So true.
Yeah. So I appreciate you taking the time to be on, man.
Thanks for having me on. And I'm glad, drummer, bass player, good connection here. And thank you for allowing me to share, and hopefully it adds some value. And just, if nothing else, that just sparked something, and someone that's listening to it, I go, yeah, that's me. I can go do that.
Yeah. Limiting beliefs are everything. I have a course called Private Money Changes Everything, where, real estate investors need to go get some private money because banks are too slow and they have too many, they have too many check marks and too many boxes. And our houses don't, when we find a good deal, there's usually some problems, and we're automatically kicked out. of traditional lending. And the biggest limiting belief that I run across people is they don't think they can find private money because of a ton of reasons. I'm too young. I don't have a track record. I filed bankruptcy. I don't have any experience in this business. So who's going to loan me money and all this stuff? And, you know, once I get them to, it doesn't really matter which one they do. I can dispel it all. And you can just see the light bulb go off in their head. It's like, it's not about you. It's about the deal. You know, right. Charles Manson should have been able to get the loan for this property from prison. You know, it didn't matter how many people he killed, because the prison guard that he's asking him to loan the money is either going to get paid as agreed or he's going to get this huge piece of collateral. And either way, it works. So it's not about you. So I always love it when you can help someone get through those limiting beliefs, because it actually changes their life forever. That's one more limit that's gone from them forever. And it'll move them to another limit. And then hopefully they get past that. But that's how we grow, is just keep shedding these things that keep telling us we can't.
That's right.
And I think it's a wonderful thing. I appreciate you because you're helping people. I imagine you help a ton of homeowners, and that's a really big deal in this country. I forget the statistic, but a huge amount of people's bulk of their net worth is in their home. A huge amount of these people, their entire net worth almost is in the equity that they've built up because they've owned a home for over the years and stuff. So you're really changing lives by helping people get homes, and probably way more dramatic than most people would even think of.
Yeah,
you know,
love it. We have a slogan: "Home is everything," and we learned that over the last couple of years. Your home, when you can go there, it's your safety place. It's where your family eats and spends times, makes memories. Home really is everything. So we're glad to be part of that journey and help more people experience that dream of home ownership.
All right, you guys, one more time, check out Brian Covey and loanDepot. Go to 1000houses.com/sports, the number 2 biz, B-I-Z. All right, my friends, this is Mitch Stephen with the 1000houses.com podcast. I would like to thank each and every one of you for stopping by to get you some Brian Covey and enjoy our conversation today. I would also like to thank livecom.com, LIVECOMM.com, for sponsoring this episode. There's a reason why I don't have to put any signs around at my houses when I have them for sale. And there's a reason why I have 4 days on the market with no signs. And Livecom is a very big part of that reason. So if you want to check out Livecom, go to the homepage, watch some of the videos, and let me show you some of the ways I'm using smartphone numbers to solve a lot of problems in my business. And it doesn't just work for real estate. It can work for any business. And if you are looking at Livecom and are not in the real estate business and you want to discuss how Livecom can help your business, just get a hold of me, Mitch at 1000houses.com. I love to put my brain in Livecom to your marketing issues and see if we can't come up with an answer. It's something I just like to do. So again, Mitch at 1000houses.com. Get in touch with me. I'll help you out. All right, we're out of here. See you later, Brian.
See you, Mitch.